Oklahoma bill makes it illegal to photograph or film police. And guess what the Democrats did about it? Did they go against it? Did the Democrats go against it? Nope. They vote yes. Like you said, the Republicans don't give a damn about black people, and the Democrats don't give a damn about black people. Bill meant to protect privacy of government workers prohibits posting a video or photo of a police officer with threatening intent. Intent is determined by a judge or prosecutor. ACLU, other groups opposed to the bill. HB 1643 was signed by Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt at the end of May 2021 and takes effect November 1st, 2021. Back in February, Oklahoma legislators passed the second of the two companion bills that would criminalize anyone who films and publicly posts a photo of police officers. Determined to prove their support for law enforcement, Oklahoma senators and representatives took a drastic step. The legislation would make it more difficult to hold public servants accountable for their misconduct. State representatives unanimously passed the bill 2273 out of the House Judiciary Criminal Committee. It makes a criminal out of anyone who intentionally publishes personally identifiable information of a law enforcement officer, such as photo or video, with the intent to threaten, intimidate, harass, or stalk, according to the bill's text. The bill would create a misdemeanor charge for the first violation and a felony for any further violations that causes attempts to cause or would reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress or financial loss to the law enforcement officer or to the family, household member, or intimate partner of the law enforcement officer. Notably, what the bill considers personally identifiable information mixes in the reasonable with the extreme, along with the name, birth date, and address. It lists telephone number, driver's license number, social security number, place of employment, and mother's maiden name as its items that would be banned from being made public by civilians. At the end of the list, it includes a photograph or any other realistic likeness of the person. It would seem obvious that social security numbers of any employee should remain private, which makes one wonder what the motivation was for including photos of any personal likeness. Historically, and even recently, video footage has been one of the only reliable ways to hold law-breaking officers accountable. I'm reminded of the story of a Oklahoma police officer who was running around raping black women with criminal pasts. Okay? And just think about that. I'm just saying, suppose that happens again. Okay? And someone, let's say, films it. Okay? Films the assault. They could be thrown in jail. These people, okay, like I said, people don't understand how this government is evil at times. Okay? You have rapists in NYPD Police Department. Okay? You got all types of crooks, white supremacists, and psychos on the police force, especially in the Los Angeles Sheriff Deputy Department. And if this bill gets passed in Oklahoma, oh yeah, and Oklahoma's the place where this cop that I just mentioned was raping black women who had felony charges, so of criminal past. So it was very hard to convict him at first, to catch him, but eventually they did. I'm just saying. Suppose that happens again. But this time, a person can film it. Catch the person in the act. This bill is trying to silence people who have the right to film when law enforcement is being reckless and evil, to keep them accountable. Senate Bill 6's companion bill with the same language. It passed the Republican-dominated Senate Public Safety Committee. More than one advocacy group that has come out against it. Republicans and Democrats don't give a damn about the people. If the personal identifiable information specifically excluded name, place of employment, and a photograph, we would probably not oppose the bill. said Cindy Alexander of the Indivisible Stillwater, Oklahoma, an education and advocacy group. Video is like an extension of our collective eyes, and we don't want our eyes blindfolded. Alexander said that while it threatens the rights of Oklahomans, she doesn't expect it to pass. Oh, please. But both the Senate Bill 6 and House Bill 2273 ended up being used as cover for Bill 1643, which took the same language of the two other bills. Republican legislators sailed it through, and there was next to nothing preventing the governor from signing the new legislation into law. Oklahomans may be used to watching the Republican-controlled legislature pass bills unfriendly to the racial justice and equal rights. But it wasn't just Republicans who voted for the Senate and House versions of this new law. This time, Democrats did too. Months ago, State Representative Jose Cruz, Democrat of Oklahoma, and Jason Lowe, Democrat of Oklahoma, joined their counterparts in passing one of the former bills. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 6 also passed unanimously out of the Senate Public Safety Committee. The committee's only two Democrats, State Senators Kevin Matthews, Democrat of Tulsa, and Michael Brooks, Democrat of Oklahoma, both voted yes on the measure. The BWS Times reached out to the state Senator Paul Rosino, Republican of Oklahoma, who authored Senate Bill 6. His office didn't return a request for comment. We also reached out to every Democratic state representative and state senator who voted for the bills, but only State Senator Kevin Matthews responded. He said he no longer supported the bill and would vote no when it came to the Senate floor. Kevin Matthews is founder and chairman of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial Committee. My specific question was, does this include videotaping officers, such as the George Floyd incident? The author stated no, it did not. Matthews said in an email defending his initial vote. Matthews said he and his Democratic colleagues voted out of the interest of the public, the privacy and safety. He said they couldn't find any negative statements from the ACLU at this time. Okay. See, a lot of these people, they'll vote for things that they think they will never have to face. Just like politicians were for, defund the police, until they were getting robbed and beat up. Okay. Like one politician, I believe in one of the Democratic states, he got his car jacked by teenagers. See, that's what it is. They pass these bills because they think they will never happen to them, that they are above, that they're rich, and it will never happen to them. Same thing with this. So if a cop, let's say, is crooked and wants to mistreat them, they can get away with it. You can't ask somebody to help me and to film this because you made it illegal to film cops when they're doing wrong. With the calls and emails, including yours, that I am now getting about this bill, I will be voting no on the floor and debating against it, Matthews said. It doesn't even have to be that. You could just think with common sense, this is wrong. This is crazy. But once again, we see Democrats and Republicans work for the detriment of the people they claim to serve. But the cat is out the bag, so to speak. Though several Democrats explained that their purpose for originally supporting one of the companion bills was to be able to negotiate changes, there should be no negotiation. For what? Having people record cops when they're doing wrong is what keeps these cops in line. We cannot tell. There's no sign on the forehead of cops which one is good, which one is bad. Having these cops recorded when they do crazy crap is what keeps them in line. They were ultimately unable to change any of the language preventing citizens from filming officers of the state. Black people and other marginalized Americans already feel the deck is stacked against them when it comes to the gaining of justice. Even as the country awaited the March murder trial of Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer who murdered George Floyd, doubt of a conviction hung over the nation like a dark cloud. Proof of misconduct in the form of photos and video changed the national conversation on race and policing. George Floyd's viral death forced a social reckoning and political awakening. It sent millions out into the streets during the country's largest social uprising since the civil rights movement. Now imagine if that, that girl who filmed it, she has so much courage, even though she got death threats, probably by racist whites. Imagine if it was illegal to film Derek Chauvin putting his knee on George Floyd's neck. Derek Chauvin would be free. Yet, even video footage has rarely been enough to gain convictions of police officers. Eliminating that as a tool together would make it nearly impossible for victims of police brutality to gain justice. It could also destroy any bit of trust left between marginalized communities and the officers that patrol them. Voicing their concerns, the ACLU of Oklahoma came out strongly against the language of the bills in an interview with the BWS Times. While police and law enforcement officers, like everyone, has a reasonable expectation of privacy at their job, legislation like this isn't about privacy. It's about interfering with accountability, said Nicole McAfee, Director of Policy and Advocacy for ACLU Oklahoma. And given the lack of trust that exists, legislation like this poses a threat to necessary and continuing movement work. She, along with the ACLU Oklahoma's new Black Executive Director, Tamia Cox Tor, both agreed it was pretty direct response to Black Lives Matter protests in the summer of 2020. And I think with legislation like this, we can't take for granted the fact that super majorities in both chambers are willing to pass political bills for the sake of passing them, regardless of the harm they do. McAfee warned about the legislation, which gained the support of Republicans and a few Democrats. Many residents have doubts that the law to ban photos or video of police wouldn't stand up in the state or federal court. Don't take that for granted. Don't think so. Even with threatening intent as the motivation. No. People need to, find out about these people these Republicans, expose them. And this is something to march about. This is something to protest about peacefully. This is something to protest about. That you don't want this bill. Yet by the end of Oklahoma's legislative session at the end of May, the final version of the bill in form of HB 1643 was passed, signed by the governor, and will take effect in November 1st, 2021. This is crazy, man. This is insane. That bill is illegal and unconstitutional. What is threatening? A photo and is a cop for that jurisdiction. Shake my head. This is wholly unconstitutional. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And people better protest. People want to talk about protesting. People want to talk about Black Lives Matter. I hope you all are going to be protesting. Okay? And forget about voting for either side. They both in on this. Democrat and Republican. Forget them. All right? Okay? Protesting is in order. And that's it. We already know voting is a farce. Protesting is in order peacefully. Okay? And exposing these Republicans and Democrats who voted for this bill. I just sent this link to my cop watchers, First Amendment auditors. One of them is in Oklahoma. Okay. Because this is if this goes through, Black people have to start owning guns. And I don't care. Black people got to start recording, make sure your cell phone charged. Make sure you have a good amount of memory space on your phone to record video. Don't ride by yourself, ride in pairs, and start recording and have licensed firearms. Okay? Because you got a bunch of evil jokers on the force. And I feel sorry for those people who live in, Blacks who live in LA. I just told you about a white officer who was going around raping Black women who had a criminal past. So it's very hard for them to be believed. until he was caught. Now imagine, let's say he's doing that, and a person sees it, and they have to make a choice between recording or going to jail. That's something to think about. I own several, and body cams are 100 to 150 on Amazon. And we got constitutional carry in North Dakota. And stand your ground. That's going to be it, man. Please like, share, and subscribe. Later.